Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin.
Jenna's brunch invitation came through a group text that felt more like a press release. Family Easter brunch at Glenhaven Golf Club. I've reserved the private terrace. I'll cover everything, of course. Olivia, I know it's a little fancy for your budget. My stomach twisted when I read it. The winking emoji made it worse somehow, like she was trying to be cute while jabbing me in the ribs. My name's Olivia Carter. I'm 32, live in a little suburb outside of Columbus, Ohio, and yeah, I wear jeans to everything, even brunch at a country club, but not because I'm broke. That's just what they think. Jenna's been playing this role for years, the successful cousin who made it. She's a tech recruiter out in San Francisco, always bragging about IPOs and stock options and life-changing offers. I guess she needed a contrast, and I made it easy for her. Quiet, artsy Olivia with the little jewelry hobby. That's how she always says it, like I'm gluing beads in my basement between crying spells. The truth, I own a jewelry manufacturing company that supplies more than a dozen department store chains across the country. We've got warehouse space in 3 states and pull in millions a year, but not one person in my family knows that. When Jenna's message came through, I just texted back, "Sounds great. Thanks for setting it up." I could already picture her walking in with her hair done, dripping designer logos, treating it like some kind of red carpet event. She'd probably be giving interviews if she could. I didn't care about the brunch, but I wasn't about to turn it down either. Every year, Easter turns into a weird performance. Jenna shining, my parents smiling like she's a celebrity, my little brother Matt trying to suck up for career advice, and me, just the quiet one with the Etsy thing. I pulled a pair of plain gold hoops from my sample shelf, slipped on a soft blue sweater, and tied my hair back. No makeup, no jewelry, except what I made myself. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of thinking I'd tried to impress her. Let her believe whatever she wanted. I'd played this role long enough to know exactly how to keep her comfortable, quiet, plain, small. Quick note, before we get into it, share which city or country you're watching from. That morning, I backed out of my driveway, radio low, coffee in hand, and headed for the most expensive Easter brunch of my life. With a smile on my face Jenna wouldn't understand. The second I turned off the main road and passed through the iron gates of Glenhaven, I felt it. That forced, polished kind of luxury. Manicured hedges, a stone fountain shaped like a swan, valets in white gloves. The main clubhouse looked like a castle built for people who don't play golf, just posed next to it for LinkedIn. A valet jogged up as I pulled in. I handed him my keys and grabbed my purse, stepping out of my very average 6-year-old Honda. Across the lot, a black Range Rover whipped in and parked like it owned the place. Out stepped Jenna, wrapped in a cream trench coat and 4-inch nude heels. Her hair bounced like she'd brought her own wind machine. She looked around, spotted me, and gave a little wave. Half cheerleader, half press secretary. "Liv, you beat me. Must have hit every green light." I smiled like I didn't hear the subtext. Inside, the lobby hit you with that spa and leather smell. White marble floors, fireplace bigger than my kitchen, and some poor hostess standing behind a podium wearing a headset like she was managing an airport. "I have the terrace booked," Jenna announced before the girl even looked up. Under Jenna R. Harper. "Private party." She made sure to say, "private," extra loud, throwing a glance at the older couple waiting nearby. They turned, mildly impressed. That was the point. The hostess nodded and started walking us through the dining room. Jenna stayed close to her, heels clicking with every step. I trailed behind, ignored, just like old times. We passed a row of cocktail menus set on each table. I recognized the font immediately. Madison Semi-Bold, customized kerning. I'd chosen it myself for the Glenhaven rebrand 2 years ago. The logo on the gift bag stacked near the hostess stand. My team, even the blush-colored napkins with the gold leaf border. That was us too. I kept my mouth shut. Near the terrace entrance, my parents were already waiting. Dad had on the blazer he saves for weddings. Mom had curled her hair. They looked like they were walking into a job interview. "Hey, sweetie," Mom said, giving me a tight smile, eyes darting past me toward Jenna. "Wow, this place is nice." "Right," Jenna said, hugging them like she'd personally built the damn place. "Wait until you see the view." Matt showed up a few minutes later, backwards cap in hand, clearly fresh off some influencer's Instagram story. "Bruh, this place is wild," he said, taking video as we walked to the table. "Private terrace." Jenna's killing it. The table was long, white linen, way too much silverware. Jenna sat at the head, obviously. Mom and Dad flanked her. Matt sat to her left, already tagging the location. I took the end seat without a word. A waiter came by and offered drink menus. Matt lifted his brows. Yo, $25 for a mimosa. That's like a whole pizza. I got it, Jenna said, like she was saving us from starvation. This is my treat. Enjoy yourselves. Oh, wow, Dad said. That's really generous of you, Jenna. She leaned back, sipping water like she was on a yacht. Well, I know this place isn't cheap, and I remember how tight things used to be when we were kids. She looked at me for that part. It just feels good to share now, you know. I nodded, casually folding my napkin. I wasn't going to give her the win. More staff arrived, setting down sparkling water, fresh croissants, and little jars of house-made jam. Jenna pointed to the branded jam lids and whispered, "So cute, right?" I nearly laughed. My company printed those last year for their Mother's Day rollout. Everywhere I looked, I saw traces of my work. The coasters, the signage, the calligraphy on the menus. My team touched all of it, but no one here would connect the dots. That was the point. Jenna raised her glass. To family and success, however it looks. She winked at me again. My parents raised theirs like robots. Matt was live streaming. And just like that, we were back in the usual scene. Jenna playing host, my parents soaking it up, Matt chasing likes, me, background noise. The waiter brought our food while Jenna was still mid-sentence about her Tesla. She moved her phone to show us a picture of it, white with black rims, of course. It's just a lease, she said, like it was no big deal. But I got the performance upgrade. 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds. You should see the reactions I get when I pull into client lots. Totally changes the tone of the meeting. Mom nodded like she understood a damn thing about Teslas. It's so sleek, Jenna. Very modern. Dad added, that's what hard work gets you. Speaking of, Jenna said, brushing imaginary lint off her blazer, my bonus hit last week. Finally crossed 6 figures. My director said I'm setting records for offers closed. I speared a piece of omelet. It was good. Goat cheese, herbs, maybe a hint of lemon. I focused on that. Matt jumped in next, probably feeling left out. Well, I got a raise too, actually. Marketing associate now, full-time benefits, all that. And I think I'm going to propose to Kayla this summer, probably in Nashville. Mom clapped her hands. Oh my God, that's wonderful. Dad reached across to bump Matt's fist like he was still 16. Proud of you, buddy. Matt shrugged like it was casual, but he was glowing. I couldn't even be mad. He was the youngest, the golden boy. This was his show too. Then it got quiet. Jenna sipped her mimosa and tilted her head at me. So, Liv, what about you? Still doing your little jewelry thing? My dad jumped in, like he wanted to soften the blow. Yeah, how's the Etsy shop? Still keeping you busy? I chewed slowly, swallowed. Yeah, staying busy. A lot of orders. That's great, Mom said, trying to sound cheerful. Do you ship things from home or do you have one of those? Storage locker things. Before I could answer, Jenna laughed. You mean a fulfillment center? Oh, right, yeah, Mom said. One of those. I could always connect you with someone, Jenna offered, tapping her perfectly manicured nails against her glass. I've got a client hiring for admin support. It's entry level, but they have great healthcare and a proper PTO plan. Would be a nice change of pace from doing it all on your own. I didn't flinch. I took another bite of omelet. I'm good, thanks, I said. You sure? She pushed. Just seems like it'd be good to get into something more stable. Reliable. Dad nodded slowly. Jenna's right. You've got talent, Liv. Just need the right ladder to climb. Matt chuckled, barely looking up from his phone. Can you even write off Etsy orders on your taxes? Or is that like Cash App stuff? They all laughed. I took a sip of water. Cold, citrusy. The condensation ran down the side of the glass and soaked the corner of my napkin. You guys don't have to worry, I said calmly. Things are fine. Jenna leaned in, all wide eyes and fake sincerity. But you never know, Liv. What if you get sick or something? Who's got your back? It's just, you're 32, right? Don't you want to think about the long term? It was all dressed up like concern, but every word was a brick in the wall she loved to build between us. Her on top, me looking up. I could have laid it all out right then. The contracts, the trademarks, The distribution center in Texas. The 5-year supply deal I just signed with a national retailer last month. But no, that wasn't the point of this brunch. So I smiled. I'll figure it out. The silence that followed felt heavier than all the bragging before it. I could see Jenna didn't know what to do with that. She wanted a reaction, a flinch, a crack in my voice, something to feed her ego. Instead, I cut into my toast and buttered it slowly. Let her squirm in the quiet. The waiter cleared our plates and replaced them with little dessert trays. Tiny fruit tarts, so perfect they looked fake. Each one sat on a gold-rimmed plate with a sprig of mint like it had been styled for a magazine shoot. Matt held his phone over his tart. $18 each, he whispered to his followers. Wild. He smirked, not even hiding it. Jenna slid her plate closer and looked straight at me. Let's be honest, Liv. You could never afford this place, right? Her voice carried just enough to reach the table next to us. The couple there paused their conversation. Mom gave a small laugh, glancing between us. Oh, Jenna. But she didn't sound like she disagreed. Dad adjusted his napkin. It is pretty pricey here, Olivia. You're lucky Jenna invited you. I felt the heat rise behind my ears but kept my face still. I broke off a piece of crust from my tart and put it in my mouth slowly. Jenna kept going, like she'd been waiting for this. I mean, this place is crazy. Even the cocktails are what, $25? That's a week of groceries if you're smart. Matt snorted at his phone. Jenna turned toward me again. This is why I keep telling you to think bigger. You're talented, but talent without a plan doesn't pay for this kind of life. It's not me judging. It's tough love. I cut another slice of the tart. You're probably right. She blinked. What? You're probably right, I repeated, calm as stone. The table went quiet except for the clink of Dad's fork against his plate. Jenna forced a smile. I hate seeing you limit yourself, Liv. You've got so much potential, but you're stuck in this hobby. You don't have to live small. Matt looked up from his phone like he was watching a live stream of a car crash. Mom cleared her throat. Your cousin's just concerned. She's seen the world. She knows how unstable things can be. Jenna gestured at the waiter refilling our water. Look at the staff. Look at these prices. This is what stability buys you. Security. Not scraping by on handmade earrings. I picked off a raspberry from the top of my tart and ate it, eyes on the plate. Jenna's smile twitched. You can't tell me you're not tired of worrying about bills. You're 32. Don't you want something real? You're probably right, I said again, softer this time. The silence deepened. Even Matt stopped typing. Jenna sat back, the power slipping from her voice. She tried to recover. I'm just trying to help you. Someone has to say the hard things. Dad nodded slowly. She's only thinking of you, Liv. I lifted my water glass, took a sip, and set it down. Jenna leaned forward, elbows on the table. I know it sounds harsh, but someday you'll thank me. I'm not being cruel, I'm being honest. You can't afford to coast forever. I placed my fork down carefully, lining it up with the knife. Sure. Her mouth opened like she wanted to keep talking, but nothing came out. The quiet between us stretched so long the waiter glanced over nervously. I folded my napkin, laid it on the table, and reached for my coffee. I didn't look at her. I was still sipping my coffee when a shadow moved across the table. Miss Carter. I looked up. Ethan Morales, navy blazer, name tag pinned straight, smooth as always. Your owner's suite is prepared, he said with a polite smile. Also, the buyer from the London department store confirmed this morning. They approved the shipment. It left our Columbus hub 2 hours ago. The table went dead silent. I set my cup down. Great. Thanks, Ethan. He gave a small nod. For tomorrow's board luncheon, do you want the same wine selection as last quarter? Or should we try the Napa blend we tested last month? I glanced at the others. Matt's fork was frozen halfway to his mouth. Mom blinked at Ethan like he'd started speaking German. Let's go with the Napa, I said. They liked it last time. Excellent. He turned to the group. I apologize for interrupting. Just wanted to confirm the details before tomorrow's investor meeting. Dad cleared his throat, gave a confused chuckle. I think you mean my niece works here? She does some contract design work, maybe? Ethan looked at him. No, sir. Ms. Carter owns Glenhaven. No one moved. He kept going, like this wasn't a bomb dropped on a linen-covered table. She also owns the manufacturing firm that supplies our boutique and spa merchandise lines. Olivia Carter Designs is one of our highest value vendor partnerships. Jenna's lips parted, but no sound came out. Ethan turned back to me. Also, HR finalized the onboarding packets for your new event coordinator. They'll be ready for your signature in the morning. I nodded once. Perfect. He smiled again. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Then he walked off, leaving nothing but scorched earth behind. Matt nearly dropped his phone. Wait, what? Dad turned toward me. What the hell just happened? I wiped my fingers on my napkin and leaned back in my chair. Jenna blinked fast. You own Glenhaven. This Glenhaven. I shrugged. Yeah, bought it 3 years ago during the expansion. Matt looked at his phone like it had betrayed him. Wait. You own a company. What expansion? I sipped the last of my coffee. Wholesale manufacturing. We supply department stores, boutiques, spas, a few resorts. Glenhaven was a strategic acquisition, product testing, vendor exposure, industry networking. It made sense. Dad just stared. Mom opened her mouth, then closed it. Jenna finally found her voice. But your apartment, your car, you dress like I don't need to prove anything, I cut in. I keep things simple. That's intentional. Matt was typing furiously. Jesus, you've been in Forbes. He spun his phone around. Olivia Carter, the silent force behind a jewelry empire. Jenna leaned over his shoulder, squinting. No freaking way. I could see the mental math happening behind every eyeball at the table. The silence had flipped. Nobody was relaxed anymore. Nobody was smiling. Ethan reappeared briefly, dropping a leather folder by my plate. Signature pages for the Sunday wedding add-on. $40,000 upgrade, approved this morning. Thanks, I said. I opened the folder, scanned the forms, and signed. Jenna just stared at the number. 40,000. For florals and catering. Mom reached for her water glass like she needed to hold on to something. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. The truth had landed harder than anything I could have planned, and it was still sinking in. Jenna's mouth hung open, her hands frozen on the edge of her plate. You bought it, Glenhaven. Her voice was higher now, uncertain. Yeah. I wiped my fingers on my napkin and pushed the dessert tray to the side. 3 years ago, as part of the expansion, the whole thing made sense for the brand. Mom blinked hard, like her brain was trying to catch up with the facts, but nothing fit. She looked at Dad. He was staring at me like I'd just sprouted a second head. Jenna laughed nervously. But, wait. Your apartment? Your car? You don't... Yeah, I don't need a new car or a big house. I'm fine. I leaned back, tapping my fingers on the edge of my glass. I keep things simple. It's part of the plan. Matt was scrolling through his phone faster now, his face lit up by the screen. No way, he muttered under his breath at first. Then louder, Holy crap, Liv! You've been in Forbes and Entrepreneur. His finger scrolled faster. Your contracts are like millions. Jesus, you've got features in Trade Jewelry Monthly. Goddamn, you have a whole team. You're the CEO. I couldn't help the tight smile that pulled at my lips. Yeah, I'm the CEO. Jenna put her hand to her forehead like she was trying to focus on some distant thought. But your apartment? It's so small, Liv. I thought. You thought I was barely making it, I finished for her. She bit her lip, eyes darting back to me, and then she caught herself, as if trying to force the words into something more palatable. I mean, sure, you've always been quiet about things, but I prefer it that way, I said, cutting her off. I don't need the spotlight. I keep a low profile. People don't need to know everything. Dad's fork dropped onto his plate with a sharp clink. He cleared his throat like he was about to say something but couldn't find the words. I didn't look at him. Jenna shook her head again, slowly. But why not just tell us, Liv? Why all the secrecy? I glanced at my mom. She was still processing, her eyes distant. Her hands were folded in her lap, unmoving. She looked smaller somehow, like I was finally seeing her for the first time. I never lied, I said quietly. You just never asked the right questions. Matt was still scrolling, tapping his phone screen so hard it almost looked like he was trying to crack it. He glanced up, eyes wide. You've been in Trade Jewelry Monthly 5 times. Your company's doing over $40 million a year. I nodded slowly. Yeah, it's grown. The whole thing has. Jenna's face tightened. But, but you didn't even tell us, Liv. Why not? Why didn't you? Because it wasn't your business, I said, keeping my voice level. I didn't owe you an explanation. I wasn't going to sit around listening to you tell me how to fix my life when I was already doing just fine. The table went quiet. Not the kind of quiet that followed a joke, but that thick, stunned silence. The kind that presses on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Mom finally spoke, but her voice was small. I just thought you were struggling. I never knew. I always thought we were helping you. I shook my head. You were never helping. You were just assuming. You always assumed I wasn't enough, that I didn't have it together. Jenna looked like she was about to argue, but I held my hand up. I get it. You wanted to help. You thought I needed it. I stared at her for a moment, and for the first time, I felt like I was looking at her without the veil of her success. But you never asked, Jenna. You just decided I wasn't enough. Dad rubbed his temples. Liv, I didn't know. We didn't know. Matt stopped scrolling. He put his phone down, and for a second, I thought he might apologize. Instead, he just stared at me, as if seeing me for the first time. Jenna opened her mouth, closed it. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, I told her. It's over now. The silence stretched, awkward and full of weight. I didn't need to fill it with more words. They had all the answers in front of them now. It wasn't up to me to teach them how to see me. It was too late for that. Jenna's face crumpled before she even spoke. Her voice wavered, cracking in a way I hadn't heard since we were kids. I'm sorry, Liv. Her hands twisted in her lap like she was trying to fold herself into something smaller. I didn't mean to. Patronize you. All these years, I've been helping. And I didn't stop to think about how you felt about it. Her breath hitched. I thought I was doing the right thing. But I wasn't. The words sounded like they were choking her, and for a second, I almost felt bad for her. But I didn't. Not anymore. I'm sorry, she repeated, quieter now. I was trying to be the successful one, and I kept trying to make you fit into this box of struggling cousin, and I never bothered to see you for who you actually are. Matt shifted in his seat. He'd been tapping his phone screen absent-mindedly, but now he stopped, his face flushed, his voice quieter than I'd ever heard it. I was an asshole, Liv. His words hung in the air like they weren't his own. He didn't look at anyone. All those jokes about your craft hobby, all the dumb stuff I said to my friends, I thought it was funny, and I thought I was being cool, but I was just an idiot. I didn't say anything, just watched him squirm. I'm sorry, he added, his voice rough. I feel like a jerk. I nodded, then turned to Dad. He was looking at me now, like he was seeing me for the first time, not the little girl he always assumed needed saving. Liv, Dad started, his voice low. I don't know what to say. We treated you like you were still a kid, like you couldn't handle the real world. But you've been doing just fine, haven't you? The words felt like a slap. I wasn't angry, though, just disappointed. I never lied to you, Dad, I said quietly. You just never asked the real questions. You assumed what I was doing, and I let you, because it was easier than trying to explain. The weight of it all pressed down on me. The years of being underestimated, of hiding in plain sight, pretending to be less than I was to keep the peace. I'd done it to protect them, sure. But I had also done it to protect myself from the constant reminder that they didn't see me. Dad looked down at his plate. His voice was tight. You're right. He sighed. We always thought we knew what you needed, Liv. We never bothered to ask. Jenna wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, her face a picture of regret. I thought I was being helpful. I thought that's what you needed from me, someone to guide you. Guiding wasn't the problem, Jenna, I said, my voice finally steady. It was the assumptions, the judgment. Just then, a server approached with more paperwork, dropping a thick stack of forms on the table. For your review, Miss Carter. The additional catering for the wedding tomorrow has been approved. The last-minute upgrade to the premium menu and floral arrangements, $40,000. The paper was so crisp, so perfectly organized, it almost seemed out of place here, like it was showing a different world, one that had been right in front of their eyes all along. I slid the forms over to the side without looking at them. Thank you. The family was frozen. Matt stared at the forms. Jenna's face had gone pale. Mom was blinking, Her lips parted like she was trying to grasp the scale of it. This is, this is more than our mortgage, Mom whispered. Yeah, I said quietly. I know. Jenna didn't speak. I could hear the hum of the restaurant behind us, but the noise at our table felt like it was trapped in a vacuum, thick with the realization of how little they really knew about me, about the life I'd been living right under their noses. Dad cleared his throat again, rubbing his neck. I don't know how to make this right, Liv. He stopped, shaking his head. I've never seen you as anything other than my little girl. I didn't think you could handle all this. I looked at him, really looked at him. There was no anger left, just this weird, bitter calm. You never gave me the chance to show you. The silence was all-encompassing now, and I knew it wasn't just about the money or the contracts or the brands. It was about how we'd all been playing roles, how they'd been stuck in their own perceptions of me, and how I had kept myself small to fit into their view of who I was. Matt picked his phone back up but didn't scroll. He just stared at the screen, his fingers still. Finally, he looked up. I'm sorry, Liv. Seriously, I didn't get it. I thought I did, but I didn't. It was the first time I felt like he meant it, and that was all I needed from him. The table was still silent, everyone lost in their own thoughts, trying to process the same thing. The $40,000 catering bill had practically vanished into the air between us, but the question on everyone's mind was obvious. Jenna was the first to ask it. You never flaunted anything, Liv. Why? I didn't answer right away. I let the question hang in the air, feeling it settle on me like a weight. The whole dinner had been one big unraveling, and this was the final thread. Because I wanted to see who you were when you thought I was struggling, I said slowly. I wanted to see how you treated someone you thought had nothing or not enough. Jenna wiped her face with a napkin, sniffing hard. Liv, I didn't think you had nothing. I don't know. Her voice cracked, but she didn't wipe away the tears. She just stared at the table like she was hoping it would swallow her up. I kept my eyes on the table too, my hands folded in front of me. I wasn't going to comfort her. I wasn't going to apologize for what I'd done. Mom shifted in her seat, her voice smaller than usual. You did this on purpose. You hid all of it. Yeah, I answered without hesitation. I wanted to see if you'd treat me differently when you thought I had nothing. And you did. You all did. Dad looked pained, rubbing the back of his neck. But Liv, that's not fair. We didn't know. We didn't know any of this. I felt the sting in his voice, but it didn't make me feel bad. He wasn't apologizing because he understood. He was apologizing because he was finally seeing the truth. I sighed, tapping the edge of my water glass. I didn't lie. I just never told you the full story because you never asked. You were happy thinking I was the underachiever, the one who couldn't manage things. It made you feel better, maybe. It made you feel like you were in control. Jenna's face twisted, her hands shaking as she wiped her eyes again. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. I thought I was helping you, but you didn't need help. You were always better than I thought. I didn't know if she was apologizing to me or to herself. I didn't need help, Jenna, I repeated, and I didn't need you looking down on me either. I just needed you to treat me like I was enough, just as I am. Matt was still staring at his phone, not scrolling, but just staring. He turned a shade paler, and his expression was caught between guilt and disbelief. I never knew. I thought it was just... He stopped, his voice breaking off. He stared down at his phone again, but it wasn't a distraction anymore. He was avoiding my eyes. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed, and took a deep breath. It's okay, Matt. I never expected you to understand. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I just wanted you to see what it's like to be seen as less than you are, to be underestimated. And it was hard. It still is. The quiet was so thick it felt like it was pressing against my chest. Jenna cleared her throat, wiping her eyes. I never thought about it like that. You don't think about a lot of things, Jenna, I said softly, not unkindly. You just assume. You assume everyone needs the same thing you needed, or wants the same things you want. But you never asked me what I needed. You just decided. Mom sighed, her eyes wet now too. I wish I had known, Liv. I wish I had known to ask. You didn't know, I said, my voice steady, because you never bothered to find out. You just kept pushing your version of what you thought was best. I wasn't angry anymore. I was tired, and that made it harder to feel anything but hollow. We always thought we were helping, Dad said, his voice low, always trying to make sure you were okay. But I guess we were just blind, weren't we? I nodded. Yeah, but it's okay. You're seeing it now. That's enough. Jenna's sobs had quieted, but she still didn't look up. I love you, I said quietly, my voice carrying through the space between us. I always have. But love isn't enough when there's no respect. And it's not enough to make me forget how you've treated me for years. There was a long pause. Then Dad spoke again, his voice breaking through the silence. I don't know how to make this right, Liv. I don't know what I can do to fix this. I didn't have the answer for that. Maybe there wasn't one. I took a deep breath and let the silence linger. It wasn't comfortable, but it was honest. That had to be enough for now. The waiter returned with a bottle of champagne, the glass already poised in his hand. Compliments of the house, Miss Carter, he said, nodding respectfully. I blinked, not sure how to respond. Thank you. He poured the champagne into our glasses, the bubbles rising fast. Also, a quick update. Your donation to the Children's Hospital was processed this morning. They've asked if you'd like to visit during their upcoming fundraiser. Great, I said softly, trying not to let the moment swallow me whole. I wasn't used to this kind of attention, not after a lifetime of staying out of the spotlight, but it was still part of my world now, whether I liked it or not. Dad cleared his throat, standing up. I'd like to make a toast. The others followed suit, standing awkwardly, unsure if the moment had shifted enough to allow this. To Olivia, Dad began, his voice thick with emotion. To the daughter who built something extraordinary while we were blind to it. He paused, looking at me for a long moment, his eyes soft. We should have asked questions instead of assuming. I'm sorry we didn't. The air felt heavy with those words, like they were pushing something free that had been stuck for a long time. I took a slow sip of my champagne, my eyes meeting each of theirs. Jenna, who still looked like she was figuring out how to exist in this new truth. Matt, who seemed on the edge of wanting to speak but not sure what to say. And Mom, her eyes filled with regret and something else, something I hadn't seen before. Jenna stepped forward, her voice soft but clear. To Liv, she said, her voice wobbly. To the cousin I underestimated. I'm sorry. I nodded, not quite trusting myself to speak. The tension in the room had shifted from disbelief to something more raw, humility. Dad raised his glass one last time. To Liv, we'll ask next time. We'll listen. Everyone clinked glasses, and for the first time tonight, I felt the weight of that gesture. It wasn't about the money or the success. It was about a shift, a recognition that maybe things had been wrong for a long time, but that could change now. Later, as we walked toward the valet, Jenna pulled me aside, her voice quieter than usual. Liv, she said hesitantly, did you think I was cruel on purpose? All those comments, all those years. I took a deep breath and shook my head. No. You thought I needed help. You just never asked what I actually needed. Her lips trembled, but she didn't say anything else. She just looked at me, like she was seeing me again, really seeing me for the first time. The valet brought the car around, and as we hugged goodbye, it felt different. It wasn't pitying, like it had been for years. It wasn't forced. It was respectful. I hugged her back, and this time, it felt like we were standing on the same ground. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Jenna. Can we meet for coffee? I really want to learn more about your business. For real this time. I smiled as I read it. Maybe this was the start of something new. Family gatherings wouldn't be about roles anymore, about assumptions. They would finally be between equals.